Hey, it's Marie Forleo, and you are watching Marie TV, the place to be to create a business and life you love. Speaking of which, my guest today is an ambitious and creative woman who has done just that. Cortney Novogratz is a designer that you may know from Bravo's 9 by Design and HGTV's Home by Novogratz. Along with her husband, Robert, she's been designing and developing spaces around the world for 25 years. She's a mom of 7 with impeccable taste and a love of design, art, and architecture, which have driven her career, rebuilding entire city blocks, renovating a Hollywood Hills castle, and even building a treehouse in Brazil. She's an entrepreneurial powerhouse who has a passion for bringing beautifully designed products to the world. Cortney, thank you so much for making the trip and being here today.
Thanks for having me, Marie.
So take me back to the early days, because you did not start off knowing what you were going to do today, obviously. From what I read from my research, you were actually an actress starting out in New York City, and your career took a whole nother turn. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I don't know if we found our career or it found us, but my husband and I bought our first building. It was a condemned building while we were actually planning our wedding. And so my job, of course, as an actress was ups and downs, and I had a little bit of free time. So I went to work on the job site, opening up every day, learning everything on the job, and renovating it pretty much with ourselves. And so we realized we were kind of great at it. And in one sense, I was only 24 at the time.
Yeah.
But I knew exactly what I was doing, and then I had no clue of what I was doing. So it's kind of a great way to live.
Let me ask you this. So how long had you been pursuing acting when you guys got the place?
Probably about 2 or 3 years. I'd had some small things, jobs. But the one thing is that my husband and I had in common, and still do to this day, is the love of architecture and designs and flea markets. And so we knew we would always dabble in that because it was something like a hobby that we enjoyed.
Yeah.
But we never realized we would actually turn it into a real business.
Yeah. So he was on Wall Street. You were an actress.
Exactly.
You started doing this. And was there something inside? And the reason I'm asking these questions, because I know that there are many folks in our audience who find themselves, whether they're in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, looking at a next chapter and perhaps having been going in one direction and then maybe want to take a right turn or a left turn. So I would love if you could articulate what was happening inside of you. It was like, oh my goodness, this thing is so fun. Like, bye-bye acting, or if there was a bit of tension in that decision.
It actually was so fun. And I knew I was great at it in one sense, meaning that it felt so easy and comfortable. Even the, smallest, most daunting, or biggest daunting task of learning how to, dig out a basement or pour foundation or all these things that I had no clue about. I felt comfortable doing it. It felt very easy. And even as scary as a new project is today, the unknown, I still know I can navigate through it.
Yeah.
And the same with my husband. We felt pretty confident with each other. And we knew we were going to make mistakes and not have all the answers or even have all the money to do a proper renovation. But we knew we wanted to take that risk. So I think it was like a calculated risk. And the fact that we knew we would succeed somehow in the end. And then it did help that Suzanne Vega, the singer-songwriter, approached us to rent our house out after we finished it.
How did she know about it? Or how did you know her?
She actually had a friend of hers that was a broker, and he had said, that this kind of fun, groovy couple just renovated a house and maybe they'd be up for it. And so she kind of kickstarted our career, and the fact that she believed in us, she rented our home, we became friends. And we then moved out, of course, and took that money and did it all over again.
Really?
And it kind of snowballed from there.
So what came the point? Was it really when she rented the house that your husband said, okay, bye-bye Wall Street, like, we're doing this? Was that it?
It took probably the second house, to be honest. And then it was really scary because at that point we already had 3 children. We were going to start a real business. All of our insurance was covered under his job as a broker. But we knew no matter what, we can do it on our terms. If we fail together. If we succeed together. And so he literally walked away. And with that, there was all these side steps. We had to sometimes downsize in order to buy up the next property, or things weren't selling when it should have. So we definitely sacrificed to live the life we want to live.
Right.
And we still do to this day.
So it started off, it sounds like, more flipping than anything else.
It was. I mean, this was 25 years ago, before
Yes.
people even called it flipping.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of downtown Manhattan, so most people don't flip homes.
That's right.
But for us, we didn't know how many children we were going to have, but we knew we wanted a large family. We also used to, side note, promote parties in New York.
Did you really?
So we were like party promoters, even though we were a couple.
And we've
had
had
friends.
so much.
We've had friends that actually have gotten married from some of our parties.
We're talking like club party promoters.
Yes.
Courtney, I may have been at some of your
You
parties.
probably were. You probably were.
Doing the math in my head, I'm like, oh yes, my clubbing days in New York City.
Yes. I mean, we would rent crazy spaces,
Yes.
and throw parties. And so we kind of just always created the life we wanted. Is why we even bought a condemned building in the first place. Is we were like, before even Airbnb, we were like, we could always rent it out if like something, goes wrong. And we don't have to ask our neighbors. We can do whatever we want with the place.
Was it scary renting a condemned building? And I'm sorry for anyone who doesn't like real estate, but I happen to love real estate. And every time I seem to come across new friends, it's always like our little dirty secret. I'm like, do you do real estate porn like I do? And they're like, oh my God, yes. Like I find myself on realtor.com, and sometimes it's just fun. I just find it so fascinating to see architecture and to see different style homes and all of the things inside and outside, the decor, exterior, everything. But in terms of a condemned home, were you guys nervous on that first
We were
one?
very scared. It was a single room occupancy for anyone that knows, downtown Manhattan. It had fire, water damage. It had been empty for many years. And we literally had no money to renovate it. So
Where'd you get it?
We would get like beers, and we would have his brothers come over, and we'd rip up a beam, or we'd say it looks pretty good, maybe we should leave it. And we literally were going through the yellow pages saying, okay, we need a drywall guy. We just learned on the job. And we would lean on professionals in the business, maybe a friend that was an architect or an engineer, to say, come by and say, okay, this looks good, this looks sound. We had an expediter. I never even knew what an expediter was.
I don't know what an expediter is.
An expediter is what gets everything passed through the city, gets rezoning and things like that. And he became very key throughout our career, because then we walked away from traditional houses and started buying gun shops, parking lots, nightclubs, anything that could be a house that bigger developers would have passed up. We thought, hey, it could have a roof over our head and space, and we can create, four walls can be a home. We can create the home we want.
I wanted to go into this because I feel like no matter what you want to do, even if you don't have an interest in real estate or physical buildings or physical products, there is something so genius for all of us that's available if we want to do something that you can just start. You can start before you're ready. You can figure it out as you go. And I think each of us can have a part of our brain where, we kind of hold back or maybe go like, oh,
we're scared.
Yes, I need to know everything I'm doing before I get into this new career or this new business or this new endeavor. And I think there's so many lessons in that. Like I was smiling when I was reading about your story because Josh and I, when we got our place here in New York, it was crappy, and the reason that we chose it was because we wanted to renovate it, and we didn't have a lot of money, and it had like popcorn ceilings, and I've never like talked about this.
That's the worst.
But I put on goggles, and I was at that time bartending. I was starting my coaching practice. I was also teaching some dance, and every time, like in between my bartending shifts, my coaching clients, and teaching dance, I would take a sledgehammer and demo, and it was so fun to like just take a sledgehammer and just demo the crap.
Get rid of it.
That's right. It was awesome. But it's just that spirit of going like, you know what? I don't necessarily need to know everything before
I'm going to figure it out.
I'm going to figure it out.
Like your new book.
Everything is figure outable.
Yeah, it may have taken a few turns
Yes.
from where you started. And I think that's so important. I try to remind myself with new things and new opportunities. If I'm a little scared, just start. Just start. I have so many girlfriends, and they'll give me great ideas that they've been sitting on. And I'm so pleasantly surprised with the ones that actually then really do it. And I keep saying it's so great, because a lot of people talk about things, but they actually then don't do it.
Yes.
And so you have to begin, and everything takes a turn, or where you've started. You never have it all laid out. I mean, even with the parenting, I don't have all the answers. I'm in a new chapter where my kids are entering adulthood. Some of my older ones, my youngest is still 9, but that's a whole nother new set of tools that I'm learning to gain and strengthen and get.
So speaking of taking a turn, I'm curious, so you guys are going, you're getting houses, you're getting spaces, this is all happening. How did it come that you then transitioned into reality TV? So did you guys want that, or like did that come to you? And what was that process like of making a decision? Because that's a whole different life.
It is a whole different life. So way back then, we had already gotten asked to do our first hotel. We'd gotten asked, we had some Shelter magazine, home magazines write about us.
Yep.
The New York Times had written about us. And during that process, we also had signed a book deal with Rizzoli, so our first book. And we'd had a number of projects under our belt at that point. And someone had approached us from one of the networks, and reality TV was just starting out.
Yeah, totally brand new.
Just starting out.
Yes.
And so they basically said, we'd love to do a reality show with you. Well, Robert and I are like, okay, I don't know about that. In fact, his family did an intervention with us.
What?
Saying, we really don't think you guys should do this.
Did they literally like come and sit y'all down where
Separately,
you were? Okay.
But in kind, loving ways, because they're amazing people.
Of course.
But there was a lot of concern.
Yeah.
And Robert and I were like, wow, we got a lot of kids in New York. They're expensive.
So you already had 7 kids?
No, we had 6 at the time.
6, okay.
Yeah. And we thought, you know what?
They're expensive.
We're like, well, let's take this opportunity, and people can see our work more.
Yes.
And we can edit what comes out of our mouths and what we show of our kids.
So I'm curious about that, because I think I've never done reality TV. I think, again, we're in a very different time than when it first
now
started.
it's social media. Everybody's public. It didn't happen if you don't post it. But
That's
back
right.
then, we were judged for taking that opportunity.
Totally. But question, did you work it into your contract? Because I think for me, understanding a bit about editing, being involved, and having a partner who's in entertainment, like I know the power of, you can get a lot of stuff on camera,
right?
And then people can craft a narrative. You're like, wait a minute,
right?
That's so not what that vibe was. Did you work it into your contracts?
We didn't have full control, I'll be honest. But what we did do is we became friends with the crew. We spoke with our children, to the older ones. My oldest was only 12, though, at the time. And we had a great village, a support team that we still have to this day. Nobody does it alone. And we relied on those people. If I was, saying, doing an interview or out in the field filming something and somebody else was maybe capturing my child and I couldn't be there, I had eyes and ears on the ground at all time. And so it still was a little bit of a risk. I had twin boys that are like puppies at that time. They could wrestle and fight, and that could have been taken and turned in a whole different direction. But we showed ourselves of who we are, our best foot forward, and we protected ourselves with the people around. And to this day, we still have great friends that were on that show and that worked on that show. Our children learn that creative process a little bit differently than what we do as creative as well, but it's such an incredible experience. It's better than what they could have learned in school. Yeah. And so we only had a great experience with it. Yes, there's haters and weird things and people make crazy comments, but we don't get caught up in that, and from that, we got incredible job opportunities that would not have come our way. And then we also knew you can do a little bit, or you can do a lot for a little bit of time, but we knew there's a time to step away then and really be with our kids more and develop our full real job, So anyway, it was a great opportunity.
So I'm building on that. I would expect that having 2 hit shows, that would open up the floodgates in terms of business opportunity. And I think for anyone watching, when you're working really hard after a certain time, or even if you're just in the beginning of your career, sometimes it's difficult to be able to know from all these incoming opportunities, how do you know what to say yes to? So I would imagine that you guys had a lot of incoming. What was some of the criteria that you used to say, here's like 5 or 6 deals on the table. Here's all these other things that people are saying, come work with us. How did you navigate that? And what was your decision-making criteria?
Well, and I still have to do that today.
Yes.
We're in a creative field, my husband and I. And so I don't really know what the job is next year. And we get a lot of opportunities that come our way, fortunately, and some years more than others, especially right off the show. But what we did is, and we still to this day, do we want to do the project because they're cool people, or it's just a great opportunity, or we want to travel to that place? Do we want to do this job because it's really lucrative, but it may not be as fun? We may have to compromise. Every job we weigh the pros and cons of why we're taking it, who we're working with. And sometimes I'll be honest, having 7 kids, I've had to do a few projects that haven't always been fun.
Yeah.
But they're still
you have
engaging.
A family to support.
Exactly. And so, I still hold my head up high through those projects, but I know the reason I'm doing them, why I'm doing those. And then that offsets because maybe it was a financial project. I really needed the money. It allows me to do the cool stuff that I love.
Yes.
And there's a fine balance always. Even I love my work, but there's still things I do that are kind of crappy and aren't as fun.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's really important for people to hear. And I've tried to say that on so many conversations we've had on interviews where it's like, I love what I do so much. And it's not all like rainbows and daisies and skipping around. They're like, I don't wear a green sequence dress.
Day.
Oh my good. Like, this is a show. So this is my...
Next time, give me the memo.
Yes.
I'm casual,
honey,
Cortney, today.
You look real cute. We're going to hang out in LA. We'll get you in sequins. But my point is most of the time, especially, and I wanted to talk about this with you, and I'm so glad that you brought it up, if they see you, it's like, oh my God, this amazing family, working with her husband, her children, was on reality TV, so successful, but it's like, that's just the stuff that people see. Mm-hmm. Some of the day-to-day, it ain't fun.
Well, if you do, I think I try to give my kids the advice is, you may not know what you're passionate about right away.
Yeah.
But if you find something you truly love and that you're passionate about, and I loved acting just as much as interior design, and now I love interior design more. I can't imagine my life without it.
Yeah.
Then the tedious part and the bad part still seems pretty fun.
Yes.
But there's still headaches involved.
Yep.
And anyone that has success worked to get there. I don't care what job they've done. They work to get there.
Really hard.
If you want success, you have to work for it. You have to go for it. It's not going to fall in your lap. But if you find something you really love, then it's pretty fun. I would say 90% of the time.
Yeah. So you guys spent 25 years in New York City, and then you moved to the West Coast. And I read that part of it was like, you know what? You were feeling like you were hitting a wall work-wise and wanted to grow your network. So what exactly did hitting a wall look like for you guys at that moment? Was it in concrete terms of just like, we're a little bored? Or was it like, you know what? Not as much business. Let's go drum it up over there.
It was a little bit of both, to be honest. Every city changes. New York City is the best city. I always will have my heart, and it provided the life I wanted. But it was changing as well.
Yeah.
And a lot was happening on the West Coast. A lot of creativity, a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of the guys I was doing business with financially were getting pushed out of the city. So the grind got harder and harder.
Yeah.
And it was also important, Robert and I, neither one of us are from New York City. We moved here, and our kids were born and raised here. And even though we traveled, I felt like, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's let them have a story. And so we took off to the West, and it was great because it kind of, kick-started our relationship and work and in life again. And you just see things through, a fresh set of eyes.
Yeah.
And it was still very hard, though, I'll be honest, to, build everything we'd built here and then just kind of take off. My footing was off a little bit. And so I had to dig deeper, work harder, but I'm so much stronger from it. And our whole family, it brought us a lot closer in ways that I could never have imagined. The hardships got outweighed with, blessings that happened. And so we will eventually get back to New York. That's really our home.
Yeah.
But maybe my kids, some of them will make a life out there. I just wanted them to see that there's such a big world and to really kind of experience both sides. I feel so lucky.
And does it feel like the kind of hitting a wall work-wise got refreshed?
It did.
That's cool.
It really is so cool because there's so many neat. I'm in Los Angeles right now, and so there's so many neat things happening there.
Yeah.
It's a great time to be in the city.
Question for you about partnering with other brands, because you've done so much partnering, CB2, Old Navy, Temp Paper. For anyone watching who may or may not be at the level that you're at, any advice that you have for creatives or entrepreneurs when they're getting into any kind of partnership? Like, are there any tips or do's or don'ts, or you're like, gosh, I wish someone would have told me this before I did this?
Well, I do recommend whatever that partner is going to be, maybe go out and have some tequila with them. Get to know them.
I like this.
That way you really, can share and trust each other. Because it becomes a family, even if it's a big corporate company or it's a small mom and pop team. you have to have a trusting relationship. And the goal is for both parties to win in the end. And so really leaning on each other with every partnership or collaboration we've done. For example, with CB2, we were able to take that opportunity, design our first product line. We didn't want to come in and say, oh, we've been doing this for years. We knew exactly what we're doing. We knew exactly what we wanted to create, but we let them teach us and guide us. The price points, the size, how it could be made, what materials. And we went back and forth. And it was great. So it was a win-win in the end of how they came to us and we brought our tools and we leaned on their tools. And that's the biggest thing, is just communicating. And then also trying to make it easy for that partner. You know, you can't be a perfectionist. The world is not perfect. You can really have strong opinions and try to make it the best you can, the way you're visualizing it. But you have to let go a little bit, and you have to trust them and let them run with it and have some control as well.
I like it. So I have a lot of friends. It seems like there's a small but growing population of folks who work together who are couples. Like a lot of my girlfriends, quite frankly, who run their own businesses, their husbands have joined them and now work in the company.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone. But.
It's not for everyone. So there's an interesting dynamic, obviously. You know, you're working together, you're growing a business, you're taking care of a family, and obviously then there's the intimate relationship that you want to keep alive too. So I'm curious if there have been any things, because it's been over 25 years for you. Clearly, you and your husband still love each other. You have a strong family. Anything that you've discovered with that interesting dynamic that really works? You're like, gosh, this is a lesson from the field.
Yeah. I mean, we actually like each other's company. So, you know, we have a good time. At this point, we have 7 kids. So even if we wanted to leave, no one's going to have us. So, but I think, we definitely put our egos aside because
what does that look like?
Well, for example, let's say we're fighting over a floor choice, what hardwood floors. If he comes off more passionate and really strong, eventually I'm like, you know what?
Give him the floor.
I'll let him win. Yeah. It's like, I'll put my ego in check because it doesn't matter, you know? And we just kind of learn when to play good cop, bad cop with whatever we're dealing with, whether it's in our business, whether it's with our children, whether it's with each other. And the great thing is, like a lot of people, we don't have to have date nights, because we travel and go on a book tour together, or we're with each other during the day. If the kids are at school, we can have fun then. Yeah. So, and we both love what we do. We really chose that. Is there days where we're like, oh, we need a break from each other,
Yeah, you wouldn't be. If you're going to tell me no, I'm going to be like, I don't know if I believe it.
There's definitely days, but I'll say, why don't you go on a trip with your brothers?
Totally.
Or I'll go visit my sister. We have enough sense to know we're driving each other crazy.
Yes.
And we don't take it personally, you know. So, but we're with each other most of the time and really like it. But we also realize the people that work for us, they work for a husband and wife, so they've got 2 bosses in a sense, and that's not easy on them sometimes. So we constantly, remind them or try to joke or have fun and bring them in. But most people realize they get all of us, all 9 of us, if they're coming to work for us.
That's cool.
So I hope they like it.
So for anyone in the creative fields right now, I think one of the other fascinating things about you, Cortney, is just over the years, how much you have pivoted and you continue to challenge yourself to do new things. How important do you think that is today?
I think it's crucial to succeed because life is changing so fast. Obviously, the internet, we talk about social media. There's going to be something else around the corner so soon. Looking at stores, like for a long time, my husband and I thought we need to have a store. And then within that year, online shopping just started taking off. And so, we were like, wait, okay, we need to alter and change. We don't need to do that right now. It needs to go in this direction. And so you have to be flexible. You have to stay focused on what your end goal is, but you may take a different turn than what you thought. And, we were talking earlier, even with my children, I say, nobody's in a 30-year job anymore.
Yes.
And I don't feel like those should have even existed, because if you really want balance, is to mix it up and to have a lot of different chapters along the way.
Give yourself that opportunity to do so. Cortney, thank you so much for coming on today.
I had
You're
a blast.
An inspiration.
Thank you. You are too.
I can't wait to see all the new things that you guys create.
And I'll see you in LA.
Absolutely. Now, Cortney and I would love to hear from you. So we talked about a bunch of things. What was the biggest insight that you're taking away from this conversation? And most important, how can you put that into action starting right now? Now, as always, the best conversations happen after the episode over at marieforleo.com. So head on over there and leave a comment now. While you're there, be sure to subscribe to our email list and become an MF Insider. You'll get instant access to an audio I created called How to Get Anything You Want, and it is so good. You'll also get some exclusive content and special giveaways and some personal updates from me that I just don't share anywhere else. Stay on your game and keep going for your dreams, because the world needs that very special gift that only you have. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time on Marie TV. Hey, you having trouble bringing your dreams to life? Well, guess what? The problem isn't you. It's not that you're not hardworking or intelligent or deserving. It's that you haven't yet installed the one key belief that will change it all. Everything is figureoutable. It's my new book, and it launches September 10th, and you can order it now at everythingisfigureoutable.com.
You may not know what you're passionate about right away.
Yeah.
But if you find something you truly love and that you're passionate about, then the tedious part and the bad part still seems pretty fun.